How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So my thoughts on Terryjoeljunior. He's a YouTuber that talks about a lot about narcissism, some spiritual stuff like with the chosen ones, and just overall talking about kind of like self improvement. Like knowledge that most people don't know about, and it's good stuff. But my overall opinion of him is some water. My overall opinion of him is I think he produces good content. I do believe that. I think he does help some people. I believe that. But I also think, just by the way he presents himself a little bit, and it seems like if he does phone consultation calls, I've heard stories of this, like, he's overly like serious, so he's just on the phone kind of like talking to him like this, and then people ask him questions, but he's not specifically asking them questions about like, oh, what brings you here, hope you're okay, like finding solutions to their problem. Because people that suffer, and people that have been dealing with narcissistic abuse, and stuff like that, I will say, yeah, he has a lot of knowledge in that, and he could help people, 100%. However, other things in life is okay, but I do think he needs to ask his clients more specific questions on what's actually going on, because it gets complicated. And to say chosen one, we all believe we're chosen by God, and I do believe there's truth into that for sure. But at the same time, everyone's story background is so different from each other, and if I were to try to guess someone's life story and all this shit they went through, I couldn't even comprehend it, because it's so out the box sometimes, and it's not something that everyone knows the answer to, and I don't think he knows the answer to that specifically. And also, I know that you don't have to be a certified psychologist or a certified therapist to give great advice. But however, if people are paying you money for online calls, advice calls, I would say, Terry, ask your clients more specific questions on their issues they're really dealing with. Ask them stuff like, hey, what are symptoms you feel when you're dealing with certain family members, or ask them stuff along the lines of, you got to be a little bit more engaging. You just can't be on the phone just kind of being there. There's a time and place for that, but ask more questions like, hey man, appreciate you. Just if you can't be, I understand what you're trying to do, come off stoic and serious, which is good, okay, but you gotta be more a little more sympathetic to your clients if they're paying you money, put it that way, a little bit more. And just things are so much out the box, people, excuse me, like I said, some people might experience bad anxiety, and they need to overcome a specific fear for that, So I would say is you wouldn't say, Terry, this oh, you have anxiety, you can never do this, I'm surprised you can do this and that, give them advice of conquering an inner kind of fear, and you place it step by step of how you could overcome that, if that makes sense. And I'm not hating on you, buddy, I'm just kind of giving you constructive criticism on just some things, overall. Otherwise, I like your message, but yeah, there's some things to consider. But yeah, I think it's just he's kind of entrepreneur guy. He's doing this thing, he thinks, I believe he lives in Canada, an island in Canada. So life in Canada, in, I think, Prince Edward Island, is probably a little different than life in certain states in America, Texas, Florida, the rest of the 50 states. So I just think, there's so much, that I don't know, and so much he doesn't even know. It's to really bring, you know, a lot of, you know, conclusions and like, you know, I know all the answers would just be false, you know, because no one's perfect. No one is. But overall, he needs to be a little bit more, show a little, like, he's kind of like a robot in his videos, and it's just like, this kind of seems like weird, unhuman vibes in a way, and stuff like that. And I think he just needs to be I'm not saying show him like emotion, just like being more like human, you know, just like relax, chill, like, you know, like instead of being like overly serious. And his energy sometimes could be a little negative and dark. Now, what stuff he's preaching is good, 100%. But, you know, if you go through a traumatic experience with a narcissistic relationship, you kind of have to come to a point where, like, okay, I went through that. I know what a narcissist is. I'm not going to let a person like that back into my life because I'm strong now, and I know I won't ever let that happen again. That can take a mental toll on you, and it could lead you down a dark path of like sadness, you know, depression, and just like, and you could be in this like dark cloud after narcissistic abuse. And I think he might be experiencing a little bit of that, just like how he just seems kind of down, and like just like, which is like he has a right to be, because like if you go through, you know, a narcissistic ex or friend, you know, it's traumatic. But I do feel like, you know, from my experience too, dealing with narc friends and stuff, you know, it is painful, 100%. But I feel like I have to let, you know, I could feel like these feelings of like, you know, this sucks just talking about this, and it's important to spread awareness, but I can't let that impact my life. You know, I can't let that impact, you know, things in my life, like my happiness and just stuff like that. And I hope those things aren't getting to him, you know, per se. But yeah, he's I will say he's a good guy, but he has a little bit of a big ego. And he, like, I heard, you know, stories on, you know, when he's doing consultation calls, like he's talking more about himself rather than his clients, which you can refer back to yourself and like what you've overcome and shit, but you just can't focus all the conversation on you, and that's just like a little bit of a big ego. And like, you should be proud of your accomplishments for sure, but it should not be taking over all of you, like your ego. And like, that's a little bit kind of too much of a big ego, in my opinion. You gotta be humble. I said humble, but you gotta be tough too. Humble, tough, and have an ego. All three are important. But overall, good guy. But is he perfect? No. Does he have all the answers? No. Is there stuff he doesn't know? Of course. Is there stuff I don't know? Of course. But I think the biggest things before I wrap up this video is like, for him, he needs to be more engaging, asking specific clients questions of like what they're actually struggling with, and for him to come up with certain kind of solutions to that, you know. And like him explain that a little bit more would be beneficial for him. And he needs to be a little bit more, like I said, just be overall like, say like, hey, how's it going? Hope you're well, man. Like, instead of saying, yep, yeah, like super seriously, like in a robotic tone. But yeah, that's what I think of Terryjoeljunior. Hope you found this video to be helpful. Done.